Another day, another season preview here for the 2025-26 season. We got the Montreal Canadiens for this episode. This should be very fun. Montreal is an overall very fun team to discuss, and they have been for quite a long time, so let's hop in. The season previews are in full swing for 25-26. We are talking about all 32 teams and their upcoming seasons. We have now gone up to Anaheim through Minnesota, so we're basically at the halfway mark of these videos, and I've been looking forward to doing these every single day, so let's hop in now with Montreal. So Montreal is a team that has been rebuilding for the last couple of years, and this past year they took a massive step, nearly a 20-point increase. But first off, let's go back to 2022-23, where they went 31, 45, and 6 for 68 points. They were 28th in the National Hockey League that year. It was just not a good season for Montreal. I'm not rustling any feathers by saying that, but overall this team was just not that great. And that's just how you can kind of say things there. They drafted David Reinbacher in that draft. You need guys like that, defensemen like that, right shot defenders who can be very solid for you. They also made some good picks later on in the draft as well. In 23-24, they got a lot better, but their placement was still the same. 30, 36, and 16 for 76 points. They were 28th in the league again that year. They increased by 8 points, but they still did not make the playoffs, and they still did not move any higher than bottom 5 in the league. They draft Ivan Demidov. They draft Michael Hage. Things are looking up for Montreal now at this point, and they were before, but now you get Demidov, your star cornerstone Russian prospect, and there you go. Like, you have your future kind of panned out there for you more or less. So then this coming year, this past season, with the new addition of Lane Hudson coming over from BU, they went 40, 31, and 11 for 91 points. They were 17th in the National Hockey League that year. They made the playoffs as the last team in the Eastern Conference to do so. They put up a good fight against Washington, but obviously they did not win that series. I thought they played very well. They were a fun team to watch, that's for sure. And overall, I look forward to watching them again in 2025-26. So that being said then, let's look at the management for the Montreal Canadiens. You have Kent Hughes, who has been the GM since 21-22. I have a lot of confidence in Kent Hughes. He has made some phenomenal moves as a general manager since he's come in after, I don't even remember who it was, but it was just somebody who was just so bad. I don't know why his name's escaping me right now. It's late at night, so that's probably why. And then Marty St. Louis is your head coach. He's been the coach since 21-22 as well. So these guys have been here the whole rebuild, essentially. Or most of the rebuild, essentially. So overall, I think these two, I trust them a lot. St. Louis was a Jack Adams finalist last year. I do have my worries, though, about him defensively. Like, defensively as a coach, been a little bit iffy. Montreal was not the greatest defensively last year. I am worried, though, like, if they do start off rough, there was criticism there was some, like, speculation of him maybe being fired by Montreal. Like, I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm not saying every Hab fan said that. But there was some, like, people that were writing articles and saying he could get fired. But obviously he didn't. And it was a good thing, too, because they made the playoffs. But overall, I have a lot of trust in this Montreal system. Let's see what happens, though. Your key departures, or key arrivals and key departures for the Montreal Canadiens starts off with just 3 guys in the arrivals list, and we're going to do them in the same clip as well. You start off with Joe Veleno, who's kind of a weird one to start off with, Zach Bolduc, and Noah Dobson are the big 3 guys that Montreal has acquired here. So, going down the list, Joe Veleno is one of those guys who was acquired to be a 4th liner. He's going to be one of those guys they kind of experiment with because Veleno was with Detroit, just didn't work out. But maybe he comes here with the Montreal Canadiens and can actually improve. I guess we'll see. And then Zach Bolduc as well is one of those other interesting cases there too. He scored like 25 goals last year with the St. Louis Blues. They traded him to Montreal for Logan Mailloux. Interesting to say the least, but regardless, that was a very good move and a very good trade there by Kent Johnson. One of the more underrated moves that happened this offseason. And then Noah Dobson, the big one. They acquired him at the draft. He became a phenomenal presence for Montreal and just overall was a very good player with the Islanders. Did have some down and rough points, but he's going to improve this blue line a lot, and that's for sure. Your key departures, though, are guys who, to be honest with you, they're not that big of losses. You have Christian Dvorak, Joel Armia, Emil Heineman, David Savard, and Logan Mailloux are your guys who are no longer on the Montreal Canadiens here. So Dvorak will kind of sting. It was a good fourth line, third line center, but they have Newhook there. They have Evans. They didn't really kind of need him, to be honest with you. You also have Joel Armia, who was a longtime Canadian, a good fourth liner at that. I believe he is off to Los Angeles. We just discussed him in that video. Emil Heineman, I liked him. He was a good young rookie who was putting up some good numbers, playing literally fourth line minutes. And then he got hit by a car and just could not really kind of find his groove after that happened. He was still solid. He will be good with the Islanders. David Savard retired, so he is not even in the NHL at all. And then Logan Mailloux was involved in the Zach Bolduc trade, so he is no longer with the Canadiens. That sucks, but he was a solid prospect in the system. Just they didn't think they really needed him. So overall, I think the adds and departures are definitely night and day for sure. I feel like the departures are not really that big of a deal, but for the arrivals, Veleno will be all right, Bolduc could be solid, and Dobson could be Dobson there as well. So overall, I think the Canadiens definitely got better. So that being said, then, let's hop into the Canadiens depth chart for 2025-26. Now, this was made by the Hockey News, so then that way I do not forget anybody or do something stupid, but that's happened anyway. So let's just hop right in here. Starting off with the left wing side, you have Juraj Slafkovsky, Patrick Laine, Zach Bolduc, Brendan Gallagher rounding out your first four. Then you have Florian Xhekaj as your extra guy there on the right wing side. So, the left wing side, Slafkovsky, I feel like had a little bit of a rough season last year. I want to keep that on the down low because Habs fans won't like that. But I do think that he's been developing slowly but surely. He's had stretches of good hockey, but overall can't really produce a fully good season. So maybe you see that out of him this year. He can be somebody who can be fun to watch there for sure with me. Patrick Laine, a solid, good goal scorer there. He can score maybe 20 goals for you this year in a full-time role with Montreal. He could be interesting. Bolduc, again, I think maybe be over Laine. He scored 25 last year. He could take a big breakout this season, so that's a guy who you want to watch out for. Gallagher has been with the Montreal for a long time. He is a good fourth liner. There's really nothing else to say about that. And then Florian, the brother of Arbor, I don't know. I don't really know a lot about him, so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. Your center core, and this is where I have some concerns. And I will get into this more in depth later, but it is one of my concerns. You have Nick Suzuki, Kirby Dach, Alex Newhook, and Jake Evans rounding out your first four. And then you have Owen Beck as your extra forward there in terms of the center core. So I like Suzuki. Suzuki is Suzuki. He is a top 15 center in the league. Some could argue top 10. He's just outside of that for me, but overall, I think he is a great center nonetheless. Kirby Dach, and this is where the Habs have their biggest issue, is their overall center core. Now, they will say a lot of good things about Dach, but the problem is, Dach cannot seem to put together a full season healthy. And when he has, he's been good, but it just seems he can't put it together. And we'll have to see what happens here in the future and what happens this year, but it doesn't look like he's going to be that healthy to start the year. So we'll see, but that's my biggest problem. They need a second-line center. And Michael Hage is just not ready yet. Newhook, good third liner. No problems there with that. Evans, a good fourth liner too. He did get a good contract. I think he's going to take a step back. He was good last year. I don't think he's going to be that good this year, but he still will be pretty good as a fourth liner. And then Owen Beck, I don't know a lot about him, to be honest with you. He's going to be solid as well, obviously. And then you look at your right wing side here for Montreal. You have Cole Caulfield, Ivan Demidov, Josh Anderson, and Joe Veleno rounding out your first four. And then you have Oliver Kapanen as your extra guy there on the right wing side. So that right wing side is the most exciting part for me of this entire roster. You have Cole Caulfield, who is a dynamic goal scorer. He did score 30 this year. I think he can get to 40. That's for sure. Demidov, we're going to see a lot of reports about him. He's going to be very, very interesting. He is probably going to be the top contender for Rookie of the Year. He's just overall a fun player to watch. And above all, I'm very excited for him. That's for sure. And then Josh Anderson, good third-line player. I wonder if they might want to try and trade that because he was good last year, but I don't think he's going to be like that good this year either. And then Veleno, he could be a fun case. We'll see how he performs. And then Oliver Kapanen, a solid depth player there for sure. So overall, I love the top 6. The bottom 6, I think, does need some work, but I think that overall it's still very solid. It's good enough to be playoffs, but I don't know if it's good enough to go far in the playoffs. And I've seen a lot of Habs fans and a lot of people say that, these guys had good seasons last year, and I'm not denying that. Like, Evans and Anderson were good, but I don't know if all of them at the same time can replicate all of that. So we'll see, but obviously that's something you can factor in there too. But overall, I like the top 6. I just don't like their option at 2C. Next up then, let's take a look at the defensive core for the Canadiens. You start off there with the left shot side, Caden Gooley, Lane Hutson, Mike Matheson rounding on your first three. Then you have Arbor Jacki as your extra defenseman there on that left shot side. So overall, Gooley, great defensive defenseman. He's been very good for Montreal the last few seasons. Lane Hutson was phenomenal last year. Your Calder Trophy winner. He'll be fun to watch again this year. I hope he will improve defensively as well. And then Matheson on your third pairing is interesting, but he's also pretty solid too. And then Jacki is a good, hard-hitting, physical defenseman who likes to make a lot of teams angry, more specifically the Ottawa Senators, but I digress. Anyways, moving on to your right shot side, then I don't have a lot of thoughts on their left shot side. Their left shot side's good. I like their left shot side. My problem is their right shot side. I feel like there's a lack of depth there. You have Noah Dobson, Alex Carrier, Jaden Struble, and David Reinbacher are your 4 guys there on that side. Dobson I like. He's a good offensive defenseman. Not really great defensively, though, but good offensively. Carrier, and I actually kind of want to contradict myself there. I think this is actually pretty solid. Carrier, a good defenseman. He was really good last year for Montreal. He came in and played very solid for them in that trade with, I believe, they gave up Barron to Nashville. And then Struble was a good third pairing guy last year, second pairing type of guy, so he's solid there too. And then Reinbacher was good last year when he played. His health concerns, though, are definitely something you want to factor in, but honestly, I think he could make the team next year if he plays well enough. So overall, this defensive core, I had my doubts about it defensively, but overall on paper, it could be pretty good. And then last but not least, then you look at the goaltending for the Canadiens this year. You start off with Sam Montembeault, Jakub Dobish, and Jacob Fowler are your 3 goalies. And you have Kaapo Kähkönen, still in the organization, still in the league. At that, I forgot he was in the NHL, to be honest with you. Montembeault is a good goaltender. I don't think he's the answer. I think Fowler will probably be. But overall, he's good enough. While Fowler takes a year in Laval this year, I don't think he's going to come right to the NHL. I would be shocked if that really does happen. Dobish could be a good backup. I think, again, when Fowler does eventually become the starter and Montembeault is let go and is somewhere else, I think that Dobish could be the good backup for them. And then Fowler, again, I'm speaking very highly on him. I think he takes a year in Laval. You don't want to throw him right into the NHL. He's not that good of a goaltender where you can just throw him right in and he's phenomenal. But overall, should be very solid and a very good starter there as well. And then Kähkönen, your 4th string. Really nothing much else there to say. He is also very, very solid overall, but the goaltending is good. So now on to your biggest questions here for Montreal, and I've hinted at these a little bit throughout the video. I have 2, and the biggest one for me is, will they improve defensively? You cannot deny it. Their defensive metrics were not as good as they should have been in terms of them trying to make the playoffs. So I do want to say that there. I feel like they have a good blue line. I don't want to deny that there whatsoever. My problem is they were also minus 20, and I had to pull it up here on my screen real quick. They were minus 20 last year. So I don't think that's all on the defense, but I think they need to improve defensively. And I feel like with a guy like Hudson, who had a lot of defensive criticism, he's more dynamic offensively, and I do feel like it's going to be something that comes with time. It's going to take some time for him to get there, but overall, I think that this defense should improve defensively. They have Gooley there, who will be very solid. I think Carrier is great defensively as well. So they have the guys to kind of piece that together, but the question is, can they all mesh together? So obviously that's the thing you got to factor in there too. But most of them were there last year as well. And then my other one is just, how will they fix the second line center issue? Do they go out and get somebody? Do they just kind of wait for Hage to develop? What is their option there? I know Demidov can play center. I feel like he is able to. But I'm not sure you want to go down that road. We'll see. But overall, that is my one concern with the forward core. I said, the bottom 6 does need some work. But I think you have guys like Beck and Kapanen to come in there when those guys like Anderson and Gallagher are eventually no longer in the picture to play. But overall, the center core really kind of does concern me. Like, I don't think Kirby Dach is your second-line center. And I'm sorry to say that. There's no slack being thrown at Kirby Dach, but just not a fan. I hope they change it. I think that Hage will be very good, but maybe they don't want to solve that problem sooner rather than later. And now it's time for the final question. Playoffs? Standings? Cup? So those are the things that I've been asking myself here. So playoffs is certainly possible. They made it last year. Standings-wise, I honestly think they finished like 4th or 5th. I don't think they're a divisional team yet. And again, before you get mad at me, I'm saying the same thing about Ottawa. I don't think they're a divisional team either. I think that these are two very good teams. I think Montreal will be kind of battling with everybody this year. I don't think, I honestly, the new ads of Demidov and Bolduc and Dobson, I don't think they're going to boost this team a million miles up right away. At least not right away. But I think that overall they will be good this year. They will probably get 40 wins again, maybe even 45. But overall, I think they're going to be more or less around the wild card spots. But they could have a pretty big gap between them and some of the other teams. But overall, next year could prove to be very interesting for Montreal. And just for Stanley Cup, I don't think they're there yet. But with this core, it's possible. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the Montreal Canadiens. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like the video down below and subscribe. If you are new, I apologize if there's any lack in my voice. I feel like I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. And it also is pretty late at night here when I'm recording this. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.